Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and you have found the right show. We are going to kick off this weekend in style. We are going to have so much fun today. We've got a great guest, courtesy of our friends at the Vancouver Film School. We shoot this show, by the way, if you don't know, live on location at the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings, right here in Vancouver, BC. And today we've got an animation legend. We've got Lino DiSalvo today, and he's going to be talking to us about all of the incredible work that he has been working on. It's going to be so much fun. But first, we've got a rundown to get to, and this one is going out to our friends at Spookyville Video, who said that was a great interview talking about our recent guest, Edmund McMillan, who was here not too long ago, on the show not too long ago. Fantastic guy. Thanks for watching, and let's get started with Spookyville's rundown. It looks like Capcom is taking players on another return trip to Raccoon City. Following the success of the Resident Evil 2 remake earlier this year, Capcom is rumored to be working on a similar remake of Resident Evil 3. Eurogamer and Spawnwave both report that a full remake of the 1999 game is already well into development and may be arriving as soon as next year. Now, no official announcements have been made, but Capcom has stated that they're interested in exploring more remakes after the new Resident Evil 2 became such a smash success. Expect more details soon. This makes a tremendous amount of sense, I think. It's Hollywood has proven that remakes are good for business for that industry for many, many years, and I feel like in the video game space, not only can they tap into nostalgia and people that were there for the first go-round, but they can also introduce new players and people into the kind of the history and all of the great backstory and the lore that's a part of these franchises. And Resident Evil 2 turned out fantastically well. It was a great, great game. One of the best of the year. It's actually nominated for one of the video game awards from Jeff Keighley, which is pretty damn cool. You wouldn't really expect that a remake would come back so strong, but I think that not only opens the door for Capcom to do that, but of course we've got the Final Fantasy VII remake from Square coming up next year. I'm psyched. Resident Evil 3 would be fun to revisit, particularly if it uses the engine and the know-how and the technology that was evident in Resident Evil 2. That could be a lot of fun, and not a big surprise either, right? Now, it really sounds like James Bond wants to call it quits. With the new movie No Time to Die just a few months away, Daniel Craig has once again stated that he is done playing the iconic British super spy. Speaking with the German news site Express, Craig says that No Time to Die will be his final turn as the character, and after this, it's time to let someone else have a go. It's worth pointing out that Craig has said this before, only to return, so we'll have to wait and see if he changes his mind. No Time to Die hits theaters in April 2020, and I'm wondering if part of his decision on this, move to leave the franchise and leave the character behind is there's been some bad luck with this movie. It was delayed. There was complete behind-the-scenes kind of rejiggering there. Danny Boyle was supposed to direct this movie, and he left. And then he got hurt. Daniel Craig got hurt right at the early stages of production on the movie. But you know what? We've got a review of Knives Out in today's episode of EP Live, and I think you'll see that this is an actor that can do a lot more than just play James Bond. I love him as Bond. He's, honestly, Casino Royale is my favorite Bond movie, and he's phenomenal, but I don't want him to stay there if he doesn't want to be there. We want actors that are just going to embrace it and love and live in that role, and surely there's somebody out there that is just going to kick ass in that role. So I really want to see that happen. I would love to hear from you guys. Who do you want to play the next James Bond? Let us know in the comments below. All right, now this is the big news. A new Half-Life game is on the way, and it's not the only new thing we're about to get. Yesterday, Valve unveiled Half-Life Alyx, the first new game in the iconic sci-fi shooter franchise in more than 12 years. We waited long enough for that, huh, Blake? It takes place between the events of Half-Life 1 and 2 and will let players take the role of the supporting character Alex Vance for the first time. It's a VR exclusive, although Valve promises that it will be a full game, similar in length to Half-Life 2. It will also mark the debut of Valve's new engine called the Source 2 engine, which will make it possible for players to interact with pretty much any object in the game world. This is their first new engine since the original Source engine was released alongside Half-Life 2 back in 2004. Half-Life Alyx launches in March 2020, And the other cool thing about this game is that they're promising that it will work with a variety of different VR headsets, not just what Valve is working on their own, not just the Vive, not just the Rift. It's going to be available to a bunch of different things. You know, maybe even PlayStation VR. Maybe it's going to be one of the titles that will be a part of the PlayStation 5 launch, which would be wild. The trailer, it's just a teaser, but it does give you a nice taste of what we can expect, and it does feel like you're going to be able to interact with every object on a shelf or on a desk or something like that, which looks incredible and apt for, a fully immersive VR experience. And of course, everything has been freshened up and looks beautiful visually, so I'm very excited to play this game. I also think, though, that it's been so long since we played Half-Life 1 and 2 that Valve should announce that we're getting Source 2 versions of Half-Life 1 and 2. In fact, why don't we just announce it, and then we'll let Valve confirm it. I don't know if they're going to do that, but that would be great, wouldn't it? All right, you guys, that's going to be our rundown for today. Now let's take a look back at this day in Everything Cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for November 22nd. On this day in 2005, Microsoft's bid to become the king of the console market went full circle. The Xbox 360 was released in North America with a global launch following a few weeks later. The original Xbox had been released just 5 years earlier and was a modest success, selling 26 million units worldwide, but with the Xbox 360, Microsoft had much bigger success. They had begun developing the console shortly after the release of its predecessor, and under the leadership of their new VP of Interactive Entertainment, Peter Moore, they recruited outside help from hardware makers like ATI and IBM to design the new parts that would run the system. The idea was to create a console that would be easy for third-party developers to create games for, while at the same time being powerful enough to compete with what rival Sony was planning with their upcoming console, the PS3. Microsoft also wanted to get their new system out first, which they hoped would give them a head start. The Xbox 360 was released almost an entire year before the PlayStation 3, and thanks to big first-party exclusives like Gears of War and Halo 3, it helped win over players. The 360 was also helped by its online multiplayer service, Xbox Live, which at the start was much more user-friendly than the PlayStation Network. The Xbox 360 easily beat the PS3 in overall sales, although both systems failed to match the surprise success of Nintendo's motion-sensing Wii. The 360 remained in production for more than a decade and wasn't discontinued until early 2016. Exactly 8 years later, on November 22nd, 2013, Microsoft released their follow-up, the Xbox One. We have got a fantastic guest today. Lino DiSalvo is here. Did I say your name correctly? I've never met you.
You said it perfectly.
Oh, fantastic. Good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
This man has...
Oh, please, come on.
This is wonderful. This man has worked on some epic animation, some of our favorites in our household, Tangled, Bolt, a little movie you might have heard of called Frozen, and he's got a new one that's in theaters in some places and coming to...
December 6th.
Coming to Canada, North America, December 6th. It's called the Playmobil movie, making animated movies about toys. But the very cool thing here that I'm starting to realize about Lino is that his story in animation started here, in this building.
Vancouver Film School.
Crazy.
I think I actually animated where you sat.
That's unbelievable. So there was no stage, no EP live set back then?
No, there wasn't. We had 12 computers in the whole school.
That's crazy. Now, you are from New York City, or from Brooklyn. I got to get it right.
Born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island.
In Long Island, okay. What made you come all the way to the Vancouver Film School?
Let's see. Good question. It's a long time ago. I remember either through an advertisement or some brochure that there was, this is going to sound really crazy to everyone, that there was actually a 1-to-1 ratio. There was one student to every computer.
Cool. Because
back in the mid-90s, the computer needed to run the animation software was, like $80,000? It was like $80 to like $90,000 just to run the animation software.
Wild.
So I remember looking for schools in New York and it didn't exist. So I came to Vancouver and made a portfolio and got hired by Disney.
Wild. Disney was your choice, right? That's where you wanted to be. That was what you dreamed to work at Disney.
Isn't that everybody's choice?
I think so, right? Aren't we all going to work for Disney at some point now?
Man. It was, well, as a kid that loved Disney movies, to finally get the call.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Back in the day when there were answering machines, you guys don't even know what that is. And there were phones that were actually tied to the wall. Someone from Disney left a message that they liked my portfolio. They flew me out for an interview. And I had to wait 3 weeks after the interview, pins and needles. And they called me, and that was 22 years ago.
That's fantastic. Do you remember what was in, your portfolio? Like, what impressed them about you?
Dude, you will never see it.
Yeah.
No one.
We have it right now. No, we don't have it. No.
No one will ever see that reel. I animated this little Italian guy.
Yeah.
It
wasn't typecasting.
I'm not even lying. It was a little Italian guy. I think it was my grandfather.
Okay.
With a mustache. And because Bug's Life just came out, of course I put an ant in the movie.
Okay.
And the old Italian guy was going around trying to, this is so weird, try to hit the ant. And I knew that I wanted certain things because I wanted to flex my animation muscle.
Yeah.
Not that I had an animation muscle, but I knew I wanted certain things. So I crafted this story around this guy chasing this ant. Saying it out loud, it sounds like a terrible idea, but it got me a job.
Well, I mean, the enthusiasm is clear still. I mean, just you recalling it. So I'm sure you charmed the pants off of everybody.
I can't believe that someone was stupid enough to hire me.
What was the first thing that you worked on when you were at Disney?
So when I was hired by Dream Quest Images, which was the visual effects arm of Disney.
Okay.
And my first film was Inspector Gadget. None of my work made the movie, but I still got a credit.
Cool.
And then Reign of Fire with Matthew McConaughey. Has anyone seen that? The dragon? That dragon, I'll have you know.
Yeah.
The dragon from Reign of Fire was responsible for motivating the design and look of the Game of Thrones dragon.
Oh, wow.
Bam!
I remember digging that movie. It was insane, but I remember digging the movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, I started off doing creature stuff, but my heart was always in feature animation. Because the thing is, with visual effects stuff, you animate it to look physically, to duplicate physics. It looks so real that you don't even know you're looking at something that was handcrafted.
Yeah.
Like in 102 Dalmatians, a year and a half animating puppies. For no one to know, we animated puppies. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this. So Chicken Little was the first character movie.
Is it a different breed of animator? Like somebody that wants to kind of recreate reality and then someone that wants to make like cartoons?
It's a good question. Yes and no. I think the more you do the visual effects, live action creature stuff, you start getting really good at weight and physics.
And then nobody knows who to give credit to because it just blends into the image.
And if you were to take those principles of physics and weight and the locomotion and you put that into like a cartoony character, it would look weird.
Right.
Because then it would be like Uncanny Valley. You'd be like, why is that cartoony guy walking like a person in a costume?
Right,
It'd be weird.
Yeah, very cool. So you went on to Chicken Little, which I saw and enjoyed, but I was a huge fan of Bolt. And you not only did some animation on Bolt, you did some character work in that as well, right? You did some acting.
I was a voice.
Very cool. Was that something you always wanted to do as part of
If this rings any bell, I know that dog. That was me. I was the New York Pigeon.
Oh, that's great. Was that something you wanted to pursue? Was the acting stuff?
No. So at Disney, what's really cool is, does everyone know what scratch dialogue is? Sure. So there's basically it's placeholder. And for most of the films, I would do the placeholder dialogue until they cast the right actor for the movie. And for this part, I was playing a New York pigeon. So Chris Williams, who directed the film, I asked him, can you just let me just take this home, take these 3 pages home? And I wrote it the way a New Yorker would say it.
Great.
And then we came back, and then everyone realized. But I did beat out professional actors for the part. I won't say who they were, but I literally beat out very well-known actors, which is hysterical.
What was the team like back then? Were there a lot of people that would have come from New York and have made their way out west to be CG anime? Because that world must have been fairly small.
It was. Well, Cal Arts was a huge school in
yeah.
California.
Yeah.
VFS here in Canada.
Yep.
But I don't remember. There weren't many New Yorkers working in California when I got there. Just because I think Cal Arts was such an influential school for hand-drawn animators.
Sure.
And that was almost like the minor leagues for Disney.
Right. That's very cool. So Bolt eventually led into Tangled, which many people, you probably did a bunch of other things in between there, but many people argue, and some days I'm on that side, some days I'm not, that it is a better movie than Frozen. And I'm wondering what you think.
Tangled is good.
Tangled is an amazing movie, and you did the animation for Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Tangled is good. You know what? I can confidently say this. Without Tangled, I don't know if there would have been a Frozen.
Sure.
'Cause at the time, as a studio, we were looking, we were looking for our identity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we made Tangled, and it was clear, like, we're really good at this fairy tale stuff. Who would have thought it? Disney's great at making fairy tale movies.
And musicals.
Yeah. And me as a Disney lover and as an animator to animate these big musical moments.
Right.
I did.
It's hard to even imagine Disneyland or the Disney empire today without movies like Tangled and You can't even rationalize that.
I mean,
they're so seminal.
Let's be serious. Songs make everything better.
Yeah.
When a character is so emotionally invested in how they feel that they can only express it in a song, it makes everything better.
Yeah. Was there any pushback from you guys on the animation team or the story team, or was everybody, let's go for it, let's make some beautiful music, and you were all in?
It just felt right.
Yeah.
You had Glenn Keane, who was overseeing the quality control of the movie.
Right.
And the man is amazing. He helped everyone. We all got 50% better simply being on Tangled. And then that, led to other amazing stuff.
I always wondered about this because obviously Pixar was the prestige crown jewel of CG animation in the Disney empire. And there was some crossover on talent, and it felt like there might have been some internal competition from the outside.
Yeah.
Was that happening? Were you guys trying to, beat the Pixar people?
I think that's safe to say. I've never spoken about that.
Yeah.
Until now.
It looked like it was from the outside. Because I followed all this stuff even before I had my kid. I've always loved animation.
That's a very good observation. So, at the time, right, Pixar is the studio that invented CG animation.
Yeah.
They invented the medium.
Yep.
That there was this aura about the Pixar animators and their workflow and how they were working, and for a while there at Disney Animation, we were trying to mimic how they were working, and it did not work for us.
Right.
Because the soul of Disney Animation is in the handcrafted, hand-drawn legacy of the studio. That's in the DNA. And the moment we embraced, let's incorporate, hand-drawn, the craft of hand-drawn animation into CG, boom. Mm-hmm. Everything changed at Disney.
Yeah.
And Tangled is proof of that.
And I would only imagine that competition ended up being good for Pixar because they could lean more into the esoteric kind of risk-taking that studio was famous for. And you guys could lean more into what was working, which was this sort of populist song and dance, beautifully drawn animation.
Well, literally, Pixar, Andrew Stanton talks about this. Pixar had a list of certain things they did not want to do in movies.
Yeah.
And that was singing, and I Want Song, all of these things that were the things at Disney we were like, well, we want to do those things.
Yeah.
And both studios complemented each other really well.
That's great.
I mean, the reason why I became a Disney animator is because of the Pixar stuff.
So Tangled is a hit, and it kind of cements this sort of CG phase for Disney. Is it a different place to work after Tangled comes out?
Oh, yeah.
And then you go in and you start work on Frozen and with a different confidence and a sort of realization that you're going to reach a whole new audience?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Tangled happens. The feedback is phenomenal.
Yep.
It's a really fresh story. And, you know, coming back to the studio after the opening weekend, having a success felt good.
Yeah.
You know, we celebrated and felt like, you know, I was there for many years with films that were really good, but didn't really get the credit they deserved. And then Tangled, it all happened. And Tangled is the beginning to all these really special movies that they end up making.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us about heading up animation on Frozen. This must have been a tremendous honor and also a nerve-wracking, responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, this is so corny, but it's like something that you dream of, right?
Yeah. That is not corny. We are talking about Disney movies. That is supposed to be about dreams.
It's, you know, I remember being pulled into a meeting and them and the leadership at Disney saying, we entrust you
Wow.
with, directing the animation there. And
who's in that room?
the producers, the directors.
Bob Iger at
No.
that? No. Okay.
No. And it's it's crazy. Yeah, dude, I'm just so proud of that thing.
Yeah.
What a great journey. We went to Wyoming, the research that we did. Excuse me, we brought in an acting coach in the beginning of the process of making that movie. And what I learned on that movie, gave me the knowledge to go out into the wild.
Yeah.
And start pitching my own ideas, and really gave me a lot of confidence to pursue storytelling.
When did you know? Did you know that Tangled was going to work before it shipped and hit the theaters, or
No.
Did you
we
need
thought
the
it was
feedback?
I thought Bolt was a great movie.
Yeah, Bolt was
I thought
cool.
Chicken Little was really fun,
Yep.
and I think that's the thing you learn in filmmaking is you never know how the audience is going to react to any.
Right.
And if anyone tells you they do, they are full of it.
Yeah.
I think as long as you're as honest as you possibly can be with the content, and you're coming at it with truth in mind, you hope that you find. I think all movies find an audience. The question is, how big is that audience?
Right. Yes. So I'm wondering if there's a point in the process, because you do sketches and scratch VO, and you start to put the little scenes and stuff together to kind of see if it's going to work or not. Is there a point in Tangled or in Frozen where you go, we got this. This is gonna blow people away?
So there is one story.
Yeah.
And this is again very corny.
Corny works today. It's all good, right, guys? Yeah.
So what happens when you're animating a sequence, as an animator, you're constantly working out of continuity. So you're always working on one shot before, one shot after, 2 shots before, 2 shots. So in dailies, you're never seeing things run through from beginning to end. And I'll never forget being in the theater and watching the Let It Go sequence.
Yeah.
in continuity for the first time, dude, there wasn't a single dry eye in the whole theater. It was such an emotional thing.
This was like a daily
Yeah,
thing for you guys?
It was a checkup. It was like, guys, let's see how this plays with everything cut together.
Wow.
Because we knew it was working great in storyboards. The Disney storyboard artists are amazing.
Yeah.
But it's like, as actors, as animators, let's see what we did with the sequence. And it was the first time in my career that I think as an animator, as an artist, you tend to like, yeah, it could have been better. I don't like what I did. Like, you're curmudgeon-y. You're naturally like, I missed that opportunity.
Sure.
And then the Let It Go sequence was one of those things that I remember having this thing in my throat, like, oh my God, we did that. And you're like, I hope everyone likes it as much as we do. And we know how that turned out.
Have you gone to, I mean, I have a story around that because obviously I watched that with my daughter, it became a big thing, and I've got a, video of her walking around with a little Bluetooth speaker, and she's singing the song, and she's just lost in that world. But we saw the live action reenactment of Frozen at Disneyland when she was about 3. And I'm sitting there, it was just me and her because we had broken off from the rest of our group, and we just went to go and sit down, and I was emotional with the performance of these live actors reenacting this stuff that I had seen with my kids so much. Have you done that? Have you gone and watched people perform your music or perform the music from the movie?
Yeah. So my daughter dresses up in an Elsa dress every day. I swear to God, people must think I'm insane. People must think I dress my daughter up in an Elsa dress every day. I have nothing to do with it.
Resistance is futile, man.
My daughter has no idea I worked on the movie.
Oh, cool.
But every single day she wears the Elsa dress or the Anna dress. She sings this song to me.
Have you seen 2? It comes out this weekend.
No, I'm going to see it with my family Sunday night.
That's so great. That's awesome. So, I mean, that's a good segue. You decided you left Disney, the place of your dreams.
What was I thinking?
It was where you started
What is
everything.
wrong with me?
Why did you leave? Just time?
That is a good question. Dude, my parents are immigrants. They're entrepreneurs.
Yep.
And I think it's an itch I had to scratch. It's a thing I had to do. I knew I was never going to spend my career at one place. I'm not designed that way. And then Frozen happened, and it just gave me Frozen. My experience on Frozen was everything I ever wanted animation to be. I wanted to work on a musical. I wanted a specific animation style, which we achieved. I wanted the movie to be loved by people. And I promised myself, when I reach that moment in my career, it's a sign for me to move to the next thing.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. Frozen was big, and my wife was like, remember that thing that you said about... And I'm like, oh my God, you're... Really? So she was encouraging. And I took a few of the ideas that I had, and I went around Hollywood, and I started pitching.
What was that experience like for you? Was it like going back and trying to get into Disney all those years before?
Oh man, it's a whole nother crazy skill set.
Yep.
The good thing is that being the head of animation at Disney, you have so much responsibility that you're used to presenting ideas. You're used to pitching to the heads of the studio. You're used to doing research and development for years. I mean, it's the perfect segue into being a director.
Right.
But dude, I'm not gonna lie. I love being an independent director. I love it.
Yeah.
Get to work with the people that I love. Yes, I don't have the resources that a Disney or Pixar or Sony does, but I kind of like that.
And I guess if you're, naturally progressing in your career and you want to move into direction, you want to be able to have that freedom to go from place to place, and eventually maybe the road leads back.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you left after Frozen, And did you get any other projects happening before the Playmobil movie?
Yeah, so I went to Paramount.
Okay.
I was developing a film there, a musical. Shocker! And then, like all projects, when you're an independent filmmaker, you basically set up projects at different studios, and then the moment another project gets greenlit or becomes a go film, you go make that movie. So my project is still at Paramount.
Right.
But Playmobil started building momentum. We pitched it to the leadership at the company in Germany, and it became a greenlit film very fast. So then we transitioned onto that project.
That must have been a very different way to make a movie too. You're going to this huge international toy line, and you're obviously based on the success of the Lego movie and the eyes opening up on, wait a minute, we can make really cool animation around all this stuff. But it's not the traditional studio sort of pitch, right?
You're like, basically you've got a backpack, some artwork, and I literally, with a team of 4 to 5 people, we travel planet Earth, selling every single territory.
Yeah.
You sell every different distributor.
You were, because you're a producer as well. You're not just the director.
So you're coming up with the idea and you're pitching it.
Right.
And I love that part.
Yeah.
I love that I'm there at the inception of the idea. Dude, I am a work in progress. I have so much to learn.
Yeah. This is your directorial debut.
Yes.
This is the first feature film that you're getting out there. And, talk to me about how you take a toy line and a character that doesn't move that well and turn that into animation. How do you do that?
Well, the thing is, in animation, restrictions and limitations, they're gold.
Yeah.
Right? They make things inherently funnier.
Yeah. So
having a character that just moves on 2 axes, that's like, we're not going to mess with that.
Yeah.
And then you have to, do deep dives into what makes this toy different from everything else. And then, trying to have the theme come out of the research that you're doing. Like I interviewed 200 Playmobil fans in Europe, and they all mention role playing, and that Playmobil is probably the first toy they ever told a story with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that's cool, and that's honest, and it's emotional. And the other thing I really liked about Playmobil is it's one of those toys when you go to the toy store, the set that you're buying, I always looked at it as a genre, as like you're buying a piece of a genre movie.
Yeah.
And they never tell you who the hero in the box is.
Yeah.
Like Playmobil is one of those brands. No matter who's in that box, they can be the hero of your story.
Right.
So that ended up being the design of the whole film is, being the hero to your own story.
That's great. All right, now the Lego movie was very successful. I think it was very good, but it was also
awesome.
Yeah, but it was also filled with lots of pop culture, references and characters that we already knew. All right, now Playmobil has licenses. They have Ghostbusters and a few others. Are you working some of that into the new movie?
It's in the sequel.
Okay.
But in this movie, there's no license.
It's the classic Playmobil.
It's either created for the movie, which I liked.
Yeah.
Which is all original.
There's live action stuff in this one too.
Oh yeah.
And so you directed all of that as well.
Dude, there's a lot of firsts for me.
That's great.
There's a lot of firsts.
And Daniel Radcliffe is the star.
Oh man.
Harry Potter is the star of your movie.
He is so good in this.
Yes.
So basically, I remember reading that Daniel Radcliffe is obsessed with James Bond. So of course, I love James Bond, and basically the whole sequence that he's leading, the whole sequence is, again, going back to genre. The whole movie, once the journey begins, is genre jumping.
Yeah.
So he caricatures the tropes in genre films. So, like in every single spy movie, they always find themselves running down the cobblestone streets. And even though the cobblestone streets are wide open, they end up in a bazaar and they knock over fruit stands.
Yeah, yeah.
No matter where they are, they end up in a bazaar. So it's like taking those little funny, silly things and putting them in movies. So when I pitched Daniel, come on, dude, be my James Bond. Be the Playmobil. So we brought him. Playmobil made us a Rex Dasher.
Oh, nice.
To give to Daniel. And
Any aspiring directors, that is your secret right there. Make the action figure with you.
That's right.
You will cast whoever you want, right?
And then me, like an idiot, I never even thought that the dude's Harry Potter. He must have a gazillion Harry Potter toys. I'm like naive Lino going in there. Hey, aren't you going to love this toy? And he was like, I got a million toys made.
I'm sure he appreciated that you didn't point out that he was Harry Potter. He probably gets that enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Who else is in the movie, and who else did you get to work with?
Adam Lambert is the villain.
Okay.
Oh, man. His song is ridiculous.
That's great.
His song is so good. Anya Taylor-Joy is the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Gaffigan plays Del, food truck guy.
Cool.
Who's incredibly funny. Jim is wonderful in this. Megan Trainor is the fairy godmother.
Nice.
And it's a musical. There's original songs in it. It's about family fighting for each other. Again, being a former Disney artist, I just love movies that have an emotional, core to them.
Sure.
And being a dad, and I mean, this really is a love letter to my family. A lot of how I play with my children is in the movies. The whole genre jumping thing. It's the way my kids and I play. My daughter, no matter what we're doing, is always sprouting fairy tale wings on all the characters. That's in the movie. It's a big part of the movie.
Did you cast any of your family members in this?
My wife helped me tremendously in this. Everything from doing voices, to writing, to being referenced for the animators.
Cool.
It's definitely a family affair.
That's wonderful. I always wonder about this with creatives, right? Because you give your whole life to a project like this, and you work for many, many years, and then you, like the song says, you let it go. But how do you let it go? And how do you just put that and just close the door on that and say, okay, now I don't think about that. I'm working on the next thing.
It's exciting.
Yeah?
Oh, I love that part.
You just poof, it's like a balloon or something?
Because and for everyone that's here, the thing that's really great about this job is every project is an opportunity to learn something else. Like when I was an animator, it was about learning the locomotion of pigeons and dogs and human behavior, right? Every project, you're almost becoming an expert in that subject matter.
Right.
And the new thing I'm developing now is about Italian mythology. And, I'm an Italian American. This is a very near and dear story to me. And I was in Rome a couple of weeks ago, get to take trips to Italy.
Cool.
And I get to...
That's a very smart decision you did right there.
That's right.
That's wonderful.
Research, it's all research in Italy. Don't mind me in restaurants all the time. It's all research.
But you said before we were rolling, you just became a vegan. And you're going to Italy. They have great vegetables there, but...
It's a good place to be vegan,
Yeah, I guess it is, yes.
Except the cheese. But
yeah.
5 weeks.
Good job. Good job.
I feel great. I'm not missing a steak at all. Do I look like I'm missing steak?
Nope, not at all. We'll see how that fares, though, in Italy, though. We'll see
right.
how long you last
That's right.
cruising around Italy. When can we expect December 6th is the Playmobil movie, so that's coming up soon.
Guys, go see it.
Everybody here going to go see it? Yes? Supporting Lino and his family and creativity.
My kid needs new shoes. Come on.
And the next one, when do you expect the next film will be available?
2022.
2022. Okay. Awesome. Lino, fantastic
Great
to meet
meeting you.
Good luck with the Playmobil
Thank
movie,
you.
and we'll have you back as soon as you can come back
Great.
to Vancouver.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, you guys. Speaking of movies, my buddy Johnny Millennium and I went and saw Knives Out. Here's our review. Hey, I'm Victor Lucas, and this is Johnny Millennium, and you are watching Film Fury, and we have gone out to see the very controversial director Rian Johnson's latest picture. It is called Knives Out. What did you think of this movie?
This is not Rise of Skywalker he did?
No, he did not.
Do you know what?
Currently not involved with the Star Wars property.
As we know it right now.
Yeah.
But I want to say, I think this is the perfect place for Rian Johnson to exist
Yeah.
in a murder mystery.
Right.
And that's what this is, a murder mystery.
I suspect Foul play.
Didn't we do Murder on the Orient Express?
We did, and I
Yeah.
did not like that movie
Yeah.
at all. I thought it was really terribly done. I didn't feel you were in the murder mystery.
Right.
Where in this one, you really are in the murder mystery.
I like those kinds of movies, so I
too.
did enjoy the Murder on the Orient Express, but I've always been a fan of these capers and these murder mystery type pictures.
No one move until we figure this all out.
And we're not going to spoil anything.
Nope.
We're not going to say anything of the plot because that would just be horrible.
Yeah.
It's just that a man is dead.
Yes.
And
And the
we're not going to say how. And his family is all called into question.
And they go crazy.
And they all go crazy.
Yes.
And there's internal conflicts. There's a lot of
You missed an important detail.
Oh.
A very wealthy, successful man is dead.
Absolutely.
And everybody wants a chunk of that.
Yeah, they all want a
Yeah.
chunk of the money.
Yeah.
But we have this detective who is trying to, or hired detective, we'll say,
Yeah.
is going in, trying to figure out what happened.
What?
And Rian Johnson has called in every favor in Hollywood that he currently could, and he put together one of the most epic casts in movie history.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like Don Johnson is in
I
here.
know.
You know, from Miami Vice back in the day.
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis is in this.
Yep.
What?
Christopher Plummer plays the central father figure who ends up dead and is the sort of centerpiece of this mystery. Daniel Craig.
No.
Ana de Armas is in this movie.
Yes.
And she's got a very meaty role. And Chris Evans is in this movie. He's got a great role. Michael Shannon.
You guys fans?
Lakeith Stanfield is in this.
I know, the cast does not end.
Yep.
It just kept getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
And let's just get it out of the way to begin with.
Yeah.
What strong acting performances from everybody.
Yes.
Everybody delivered at their top game.
Excellent, yeah.
Excellent. Really, really good.
Especially, I think I'm going to call it for Daniel Craig. He
Yeah.
totally blew me away, and you can see why he's a bit frustrated being James Bond when you see a performance like that.
Because he typecast.
Yeah, because he's so much better
He's so
than
much
that
diverse.
one role, right? Like he
Right.
isn't Joe Cool all the time, and when he's given a little bit of comedy to work with and a little bit of eccentricity to work with, he just flourishes, and he's riveting to watch, and
Yes.
he's still super cool, but in a totally different way than we've seen him as Bond.
You will find me a respectful, quiet, passive observer.
When they cut to him and he's just like in the room, he's like in the back where the police are interrogating everybody
Yeah.
over this murder that has happened. I'm looking at him and I'm like, here we go, James Bond, and everything you said. Oh my God!
Yeah.
He delivered a performance I didn't think he had it in him. And Rian Johnson must have really seen something in him and said, "This guy can deliver the next level," and he did.
Well, I think he was cast as Bond because he is such a competent actor, and he's done tons of great,
Yes.
supporting roles and standout performances in smaller roles in big movies. And when they put Bond together, they said, "Let's try this guy. He's got something," and he clearly does. And this is like movie star making stuff.
It
know?
is. If he had never done any movie
Yeah.
before, you saw this guy, you're like, "Who is this guy?"
You may continue.
But also from the writing perspective, and I think we have to do a special call out to Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed this movie.
No, I didn't know that, Vic. Like Rian Johnson actually wrote this.
Yeah,
Did you just Google that?
and it's so
smart.
It's so smart, and
Yep.
it's so it's clockwork. Like
Yep.
you can just see the tightness on it. There's a confidence in every shot as well. It's a bit show-offy, but that's okay. I'm a huge fan of Looper. I loved Looper, and
I enjoyed Looper as well.
I was very excited when the guy from Looper was going to go and do Star Wars. Now we kind of all know how that turned out.
Yeah, a very diverse kind of film, you might say.
That was great.
Rian Johnson also did a terrific movie called Brick, and he's very, very competent with these clockwork-type movies. And in fact, I think he injected a bunch of that kind of aesthetic into The Last Jedi, although it worked to varying degrees for different people.
Right. I think this is the kind of movie he is best at.
That's some heavy-duty conjecture.
And why this movie is so smart, unlike The Orient Express, it invites
I still like The Orient
I
Express.
think it
You
was a
can
very-
throw it under the train,
I
but
will
I like
throw
it.
under the train because
Yeah.
this is how you do a murder mystery.
Yeah.
You show all of the characters, you explain who they all are, and it gives you everything, but you don't know it till the end. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
When it got to the end, I was like, It was all right there.
It was very clever.
It was very clever.
Yes, and it fits into the mold of the best ones of these over the years.
Yes.
You know, and I think this is one of those movies where it will be watched again and again by fans, and I would imagine that a lot of film students will, you know, sort of pick this apart and learn from it. And I hate to kind of put this on a big pedestal or plateau because it's just come out and we're just coming out of the screen.
Oh no! If we didn't like it, we wouldn't like it.
But I didn't just like it. I loved this movie.
I loved this movie
Yeah,
too.
it was
Isn't that
so entertaining.
I know we were laughing. I mean, people in the but put it this way: when the movie ended, the entire audience applauded, and you never see that. Usually, you get a little bit here, a little bit there. People were laughing. People were calling out to the movie during the movie.
What?
They were so invested.
People were talking back to the movie,
Yes.
which was a little bit frustrating.
Yes.
It's like, but that's the way I think people watch movies at home now.
Yeah.
But this is worth going out to the theater and spending the extra money and making a night of it.
Yes.
You know, it's worth it. It's worth to support a movie like this. I
You
think.
know, I was coming to see this movie, and I said to Kim, I said, you know what? I'm looking forward to this movie, and I never say that. You know, and she's like, I think I know why, and I said, why?
Spill it.
Because it's something different.
Yeah.
And in this zone of, you know, superhero movies and big sci-fi movies and just sequels to Star Wars, this is what calls me into the movie theater. As you're saying, this get your family, go. It's really a lot of fun. It's not like an intense blood fest or anything like that. It's a murder mystery. And the best of them.
It's a whip-smart movie, and you're just going to be really appreciative of the talent, you know? Like all of the performance work. Toni Collette's also in this. We didn't mention her. She's great, too.
Can we ask why?
Everybody's got a moment. And some of these actors excel a little bit more because they're given a little bit more to work with.
Yeah.
But you know, even the casting of Don Johnson, I
love Don Johnson.
I love Don Johnson, and I loved him in Miami Vice back in the day. And it's been amazing to see him in Watchmen recently.
Right,
he's having a bit of a resurgence. You know, he's terrific and he's great in this. He's such a douchebag.
He was so good when he was younger in Miami Vice.
Yeah.
But he's matured, and his acting prowess is unreal.
Yeah.
I really love how he's delivering.
Yeah.
When he says anything, you're buying it.
Again, another like movie star making role. And if that's you know, honestly, like that is maybe the only thing I would level against this film is that this was an opportunity for Rian Johnson to create a bunch of discoveries and to give a bunch of people that we don't know. But I loved everybody in it. Don't get me wrong.
They're perfectly cast.
I know, but imagine
perfectly.
if he did this with
come on.
nobodies and they all rocked our socks off.
Right.
That would be incredible. That would be like another level of success.
What Vic is saying, and I know what you're saying, is that if we have never seen these people before, you'd be like, who's this woman, Jamie Lee Curtis? Who's this guy, Don Johnson?
Yes.
You'd be blown away by all of these characters.
You're famous.
Christopher Plummer was awesome.
Christopher Plummer's incredible in this.
He's so good. He's always has been. He still is.
It's a stupid thing to nitpick about, but I was thinking about that. Like that was an opportunity for Ryan.
It is an opportunity to do that, and I think some people could have shone quite well. But my God, what we got was great. And this is a movie I'm going to come back to.
Me too. And because they are all celebrities and superstars, you see why they shine. You see why they're all so damn good and worth every penny for the big the big salaries that they pull down.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that they don't always get material that's written as well as this to work with.
You know, the script is so smart, right to the end. All of it. It's so tight. I can't believe Rian Johnson. I'm saying it again.
He's great, man.
I am. Yes.
He's great.
He's great.
I hope he just doesn't believe the smell of his own farts and turns into something that's weird. You know.
No.
He is great and he deserves the accolades. But
he's
stay humble, Ryan.
No, you know what? Like honestly, I'm saying this, and I'm not a big fan of The Last Jedi, but this guy is a true artist. You saw it in this movie. The camera work, the cinematography, the acting performances. I mean, you bought the story from beginning all the way to the end, and it made you go on a roller coaster ride, and you're like, oh my God, you felt up and you felt down, you felt scared, you felt excited.
I know a lot of people are going to
emotions.
be questioning whether you have to be a fan of Looper to like this.
No, not at all.
I don't think so at all.
It's nothing to do with that.
And it has nothing to do with whatever you thought of The Last Jedi. This is just a really well-made picture that's a lot of fun.
I 100% agree.
What are you giving it?
I'm going to get nuts. I'm going to get crazy. 9 out of 10.
Gets a 9.5 from me. This is how you make a big movie with big stars. We got a lot of fans of Lino DiSalvo in the chat, and people are like, "Is the rest of the stuff a commercial break? Where's Lino? Lino, did you say goodbye?" Yeah, that was it for Lino. We had lots of animation students here from Vancouver Film School in the audience. He was a wonderful guest, but we have more show for you. This has recently come in. It is the Google Stadia. This is the pseudo game console that Google announced and launched this year, which allows you to stream your content. You don't have to own any. Well, to play Google Stadia now, you need a little bit of hardware, and that's what I'm about to open. But it's all about streaming the content in and out of your screen. Basically, it's meant to be you're able to play AAA console/PC games on any screen you own, a computer, a tablet, a phone, or on the television, which is what the Founders Bundle is all about, and that's what I have today. Stadia launched on November 19th, and this finally arrived today. And I signed up to be a founder many months ago, so I was a bit disappointed that it took this long for this thing to get here. I should have had it on November 19th, which was the launch day, but it's here. And I'll be testing it out. I haven't obviously opened it up at all. Let's check out what's in the box and see what's cooking here. Okay, so the big thing here is that Google has made its own controller, and here's a look at that right now. I've heard that it's quite good. This is the first time I've actually held one of these in my hand, so I can't give you any anecdotal evidence about how it performs or anything like that, but it looks like it's well made and well crafted. The thing that excites me about Stadia is that Google has limitless resources, and they're all about the internet. So they do have a history of dropping services if they're not performing well, but they also know that they need to work with incredible services on the internet to keep those subscriptions coming in, which is what, presumably, if all things are working well with Stadia, is exactly what's going to happen here. But that's the controller. Kind of feels like a hybrid between the Xbox and the Pro Controller for the Nintendo Switch, but looks pretty good. Pretty cool there. We've got a traditional USB-C charge cable, I guess, for the controller here, and we have the charge puck. Let's see, let's take that out of there. Right there. Typical USB charge puck, no Stadia branding or anything like that. I guess they're trying to create the sense that it's not tied to any physical hardware. And so they're not really taking every opportunity to put their brand on every single thing. In terms of paperwork, I would imagine this gives you all kinds of details on how to sign up. I don't think there's any codes here. It says, the promise of creating one place for all the ways we play is a long-held dream. Today, we're proud to see that dream is becoming a reality. A community of players is the core of Stadia. Thank you for being the first to gather around the Stadia team. So you get this nice little love note, which is cool. You get some Stadia stickers. All of this stuff is, if this doesn't work, I think will be collector's items, right? Because I don't know how many people actually have bought this thing. I know that there's a lot of skepticism in the traditional hardcore media realm, like the enthusiasts that are out there are not fired up for this because we're already in. This wasn't made for us. We're already in the club. We already know video games are awesome, and we have a million machines to play games on. This wasn't made for us. They're trying to find a new audience for games out there. That's what Stadia is built for. I am very curious to test out the technology, though. This is the key to the Stadia experience. It's the new Chrome. What is it? Chromecast. I don't actually have one of these. I've got an Apple TV plugged in. Oh, so it's right about here? Is that in the shot right there? Oh, yeah. Okay, so you just plug that into your HDMI signal. So I guess when we finally hook this up and test it out on the show, we'll plug it into our one of our splitters here, so we'll be able to stream what I'm playing or what somebody else is playing on stage here. But it's this just plugs into your HDMI, and what I think is cool about this, I saw this already in somebody's vid, is the plug actually has an Ethernet port right there. So what they encourage you to do, and I got this in the code email that Google sent me, is they encourage you, and this just plugs in here. It's USB-C as well, which is great. It's nice that USB-C is becoming a standard. What they encourage people to do, though, is to use Ethernet, not just Wi-Fi. It will work with Wi-Fi, but obviously the faster your bandwidth, the better your game, because everything is being served that way. It's not about, it's crazy, right? Like, you're going to stream, if you have fast enough internet, 4K, 60 frames per second through this little thing. This thing that's like the size of, like a few guitar picks or something like that, man. It's smaller than a hockey puck. It's incredible. And that's it. It's not much in the box. It's just a few things. It's basically the Chromecast and the controller and the power adapters to get everything charged up and working, which is exactly what I'll be doing this weekend. And I'll have some thoughts on Google Stadia for you guys next week. But right now, I've got some thoughts on The Mandalorian, Episode 3. It kind of looks like a movie, it kind of smells like a movie, but with Episode 3, The Mandalorian definitely proves that it is not a movie. It doesn't have the movie-scale budgets, and we don't expect that out of a weekly series, but the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian kind of took us all over the place and gave us a lot to feast our eyes on, and there was a lot of freshness from moment to moment.
He said you were the best in the parsec.
In Episode 3, there's a little bit of a retracing going on, and we're going back to where the Mandalorian adventure started, back to Werner Herzog and back to Carl Weathers, seeing a lot of the same types of extras in the background, seeing Salacious Crumb being roasted on a spit, and that kind of took me out of this episode.
Don't you agree?
I was taken out, and I did have my critic hat on. I was picking it apart, saying, well, we've seen this beat before. We've seen this flashback before. We've been in this alley. We've seen these extras, and it looked a little slapdash compared to the previous couple of shows, which felt more movie-like and felt more like, wow, this is what a real full-budget episodic show can deliver. And look at all these different scenes and characters and locations and scenarios. In this one, even though the action is pretty incredible and pretty fun, and we get to see some interesting military technology that the Mandalorians pick up and show off, without spoiling too much, some stuff that's been alluded to in previous Mandalorian incarnations. That was fun, and I've really grown to love this Baby Yoda character, maybe the best thing that's happened on my television in 2019. And I also love the interplay between this Baby Yoda character and the Mandalorian, who is clearly having his heart melted as much as we all are watching this character, just try to grapple with all of the tension around him. It's very cool and quite heartwarming. I liked all of that stuff. And, the performances I can't really fault. I like the interplay between the Mandalorian and Carl Weathers' character. I like Werner Herzog. Every time he's on screen, it's like, what is he gonna... He's so creepy. He's so good at being menacing.
Please lower your blaster.
And I like the Mandalorian kicking Stormtrooper ass. That was all super fun. Stylistically, it was great. I was just really kind of taken out of the experience, picking it apart, knowing that, shortcuts were taken by reusing sets and reusing angles and reusing some of the extras that looked a little unfocused in some of the firefights. It felt constrained, The previous 2 were like, wow, look at how big we can go with a show when we've got the Disney muscle behind it. And, effects-wise and stunt-wise, there's some great work in here. It felt like a TV show this time. Although... it ends up making me feel very optimistic for some mind-expanding and some big-budget sort of adventure with where we're going from here, because it feels like some stuff gets wrapped up and we get to see some incredible stuff.
I like those odds.
And there's one other note, too. I love the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade homage, the fedora tip that we got in Episode 2, and I appreciated the Rocketeer homage that we got in Episode 3, although it felt a little too, earthbound, It didn't feel quite as majestic and outer galaxy as I want from The Mandalorian.
Go get him, kid.
Still, this is incredible television. I am very entertained. I'm being very nitpicky. I loved Episode 1 and 2, as you guys know.
Thank you.
And Episode 3 is still very good, but surprisingly, it's my least favorite of the first 3 episodes so far. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. All right, you guys, we went a little long with our interview with Lino, so we are going to wrap things up with a discussion about Death Stranding. Now, I'm going to review Death Stranding as far as I've gotten into the game, which is a big chunk into Chapter 3 of the game, and I know that it's much longer than that, and I've got a lot to get into. But I obviously been playing this game for a while. I've got like a 57 rating or something like that, and I've unlocked a lot of stuff. I've made a lot of deliveries as Sam Porter Bridges, who is a porter who works for the company Bridges. And it's like there are a lot of confounding things about this game. And the thing that I will say right out of the get-go is that Death Stranding's trailers are the game. Remember how weird those trailers were and how much we were like, what the hell is Kojima up to? What is going on with the... It's the game. That's the game. So get ready to deliver a lot of packages in this game and get ready to struggle with the environment and get ready to be completely underpowered. It takes forever to start having fun. I have to be honest with that. It takes a long time. It reminded me of Final Fantasy 13, how that game eventually opened up and got a little bit more interesting and gave you more abilities and more enjoyment. This is that same kind of thing. And I have a real aversion to developers kind of wasting my time with games that aren't fun right from the get-go. I think that first 10 hours... If it isn't the most important part of the game, it's one of. I'd say it's either one or two of the most important parts of a game. You got to wrap things up and land properly at the end for sure, for you to have a kind of a resonant feel and talk to your friends about how much you enjoyed a game. And that's incredibly important. But that opening is very important. And Death Stranding does not stick the opening. The opening is a drag. I was getting angry at the game because you are trying to walk around with all these packages and you're using the left and right trigger buttons to kind of stay. And we've played this in mini games in a million, like they're Mario Party type mini games where you're pressing buttons to try to balance boxes. We've done that before, Hideo. But that's so much of the opening part of the game. And meanwhile, you're getting chased by things and you have no way to take care of them at all. You have no weapons, nothing. You're just basically running for your life with boxes and pressing the trigger buttons, trying not to fall and stumble over rocky terrain, and then going through water. And there were many times at the beginning of this game, and honestly, up until today, because I was playing right up until I left to come to the studio, there were many times where I'd fall into the water, I'd lose all my shit, all my packages are just floating down the stream, and I'm like trying to paddle and stand up and press the circle button and then press the triangle button to get all. It's like a Benny Hill segment or a Lucille Ball thing. It's like all you lose, or Peter Sellers, from the Pink Panther. You lose all your crap and you got to hurry up to try to get it before it gets flushed away. And then meanwhile you might have some BT, these beach things, these very creepy, very cool, aesthetically nefarious looking creatures that are coming after you, and you're losing your stuff, you have no weapons, so you feel like all things are against you at the beginning of this game, and it just takes forever. And what you're trying to do, which I think is the pure heart and pure soul of the game and what makes this thing work, is you're trying to connect all of these cities across this destroyed dystopian America. And it's a fascinating kind of look at how the internet connects us all, and how social media can be a thing for good, and it also employs the idea of being socially connected, at least asynchronously, to your fellow comrades in arms that are also trying to deliver packages in their own gameplay. There's a lot of that sort of Dark Souls kind of sharing of information or sharing of actual physical creations within the game world. If you play online, somebody may have started a bridge or a road or left a rope for you or something like that. All of those elements are really fantastic, and I think add a tremendous amount of virtue and value to sticking with the game. I'm at the point where manipulating and navigating my character through the world is much more rewarding and much more enjoyable. But even today, even with an exoskeleton that allowed me to run much faster and carry more boxes, I had to climb a mountain, and I fell down the mountain, and my shit was falling all the way down the bottom of the mountain, and I'm just like through my controller, I'm like, what this game? And so it's one of those things where the frustration stays with you the entire time. And I've literally just been swearing at the game, like it's abusive, this relationship I have with it. Aesthetically, it's incredible. It's a beautiful game, although I've seen way too much of Norman Reedus's ass. Like, it's just so many shower sequences. Yeah, and like you make grenades, the number 1 grenade out of the pee and the number 2 grenade out of the poo, and it's like, and you go to the bathroom and take showers every day or every time you get to it's very esoteric. It's very strange and very weird. And honestly, I thought about all of these elements which make it a piece of art, and obviously something that Hideo and his team were trying to create something that, sort of escapes the boundaries of what we understand and sort of deem to be a video game. And you can totally argue that Hideo has nothing left to prove, neither does his team, Yoji Shinkawa and all those incredible people that he works with. They've done it all, right? They've already made masterpieces. They don't need to keep making those AAA video game masterpieces. They want to challenge themselves, and I appreciate that. But it's hard not to say, look, if you didn't go after all of these awesome rock bands to license all their music and get all of these incredible AAA actors and get them to be video game avatars for a little while, maybe we could have roughed the edges, sanded the edges down a little bit on the gameplay and made the opening chapters way more fun gameplay-wise, because they're not. What I will say, though, is the mechanics of the game are very, very good, very sound. The physics of manipulating the objects and carrying all that stuff. I mean, it's a statement about the silliness in video, I think it is, in all video games where we just carry these massive inventories around us, but we just put them in our pocket. How many animations have we seen where somebody grabs something and just puts it behind them, and it's like, oh, you just put a table behind your back. How are you carrying all that with you? I mean, we play a million games like that, and I think Hideo and his team were like, what if you could see every single piece of inventory and you had to deal with it? But physically, the mechanics of it are perfect. Like, it feels very grounded and very realistic, and when you're climbing up mountains or walking across things or walking through water, you feel it. It's so tactile, and the sort of the roots of the core design, the fundamental sort of manipulating your character through the world is so good and so compelling. And every delivery feels like an achievement, and you do get lots of rewards, that it is addictive, even though the gameplay beats you up and it takes way too long for you to get the good stuff and the cool stuff. The artistry of the cutscenes and the beautiful production values tied with mechanics that are sound and they make you feel like you're connected to the world definitely are compelling. I'm going to finish this game. I'm definitely going to stay with it. I'm definitely going to have final thoughts on my experience with Death Stranding. I don't see it as a game of the year. I see it as, right now, I see it as a very cool artistic exercise and enterprise for everybody involved. I think it's a worthwhile escape, but I think it leans more heavily in the direction of Metal Gear Solid 2 than my favorites. I'm a 3 guy, and I loved what he did with 4, and 5 was pretty cool for me, but 2 I would never play again, and this game feels a lot more like it's leaning in that direction. Even still, there's lots that I enjoy about this game, and I'll definitely have some final thoughts. What I played so far, though, I'd give Death Stranding a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, you guys, that is it for our show today, and I appreciate everybody tuning in and being part of the conversation and watching the interview with Lino DiSalvo. It was fantastic to have him here. We ran out of time to do a little Let's Play and chat. I promise you we will do some more of those next week, and stay tuned. I'll probably be streaming some games here pretty soon on either the EPN channel or our new EP Live channel. But that's going to do it for us for Friday. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Make sure you have lots of fun and play forever.